started. Thank you all for being here this afternoon for our final Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee hearing of the year. When we started 325 days ago, I counted this morning, we wanted to bring some transparency to the amazing work happening at the city. So we appreciate everyone who has stuck with us throughout the year. Going into 2025, we hope to do more with the committee, including introducing additional pieces of legislation around green building standards, expanding recycling, and codifying pollinator gardens. So again, stick with us, more to come from the committee. Today we'll be covering some pretty important topics, including proposed rate increases, utility customer discount programs, and codifying the Columbus Advisory Committee on Disability Issues, or CACD as we lovingly call it. Before we jump in, let me check with my vice chair, see if he has any opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to thank you and your team for helping to put this together today, and of course, the Department of Public Utilities. I see our Director of Human Resources here as well, going to be reporting out soon, but thank all of you all for the work you put into bringing this hearing to fruition, and look forward to the testimony this afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for all your support and working with us throughout this entire year. So to kick the meeting off, we will go over potential legislation to put CACD into City Code after 25 years of serving our community. Director Moses, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Weish, Councilmember Remy. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm Chris Moses. I'm the Director of Human Resources for the City of Columbus. I'm here today actually in place of Zane Jones, our Assistant Director in the department, who's worked closely with CACD, among other stakeholders, to get us to this place today. So I want to recognize him for his contributions to this effort. He's out on military leave this week. This update to the current City Code on the Columbus Advisory Committee on Disability Issues represents an important step in the city's ongoing commitment to improving the lives of people who live with disabilities. Your approval of this legislation will serve to inform and provide feedback between community members and city departments on a broad range of issues at this critical time. Elevating the voice of those who live with disabilities and their advocates is important to ensuring our growing city provides equal opportunity and equity for all. A special word of thanks goes to the individuals, past and present, who have served as leaders of CACD. You honored their service and custodianship with this hearing today. We in the Department of Human Resources, with the backing of Mayor Ginther's administration, remain committed to serving this advisory body in order to ensure it fulfills its duties. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Director Moses, for that. I do want to acknowledge Council President for joining us and see if you have any opening remarks. If not, then can you just give us some key reasons why now is such a critical time to pass this legislation?
Thank you, Chair Weish, Councilmember Remy, President Hardin. This update comes at a time when the city is really expanding its ADA office. We're evaluating our programs and we're investing in different infrastructure. For instance, the Department of Human Resources is in process of hiring a full-time ADA coordinator. And with the passage of the 2025 budget, the Department of Human Resources will have 2 full-time employees dedicated to disability issues. The 2025 operating budget also includes $200,000 for the Department of Recreation and Parks for the ADA self-audit and implementation plan. The passage of LinkUs will involve significant improvements in public right-of-way at a time that the Department of Transportation appears ready to approve the final accessibility guidelines for pedestrian facilities in the public right-of-way, also known as PROWAG. So this codification is our commitment to ongoing efforts to improve and advance the equity agenda.
Thank you. Can you just speak to how many people actually serve on the commission?
Could you repeat that question?
How many people the commission serve? My apologies.
So the 2020 census found 13% of our population 13% of our population lives with some form of disability. And that's data from the 2020 census. And as we expect to grow over the next decade, that will only increase this population. So it's external and internal focus.
Appreciate that. Any questions from my colleagues? Just one final question. Understanding that this effort is the result of a lot of work on behalf of current and former CACT members, is there anyone you would like to highlight publicly?
Yes, thank you, Chair Weish, Councilmember Remy, President Hardin. I'd like to recognize the past leaders of CACT to start. Karen Kostelak, Patricia Kovacs, the late David Cameron, Katie White, Marissa Sheldon, Christine Brown, and Sue Hedrick. I also want to thank and recognize the current CACT leadership who I'm with today, Jordan Ballinger, Nathan Grzanko, and Emma Strange. As I mentioned earlier, Assistant Director Zane Jones for his efforts for really amplifying internally CACT and bringing it to my attention, and for Mayor Ginther's support, for the administration's support for hearing us out and moving this forward.
Thank you. I mean, we appreciate everyone who is willing to raise their hand and serve the community, especially when we know we need that information and that knowledge from those in the community who are better served to kind of position the city and moving in the right direction. So appreciate you acknowledging their work. And it was a nice transition as we will now hear from Jordan Ballinger, Chair of CACT.
Thank you, Chair Weish, Councilmember Remy, and President Hardin for the opportunity today to provide testimony on, for me personally, a very important piece, which is the codification of the Columbus Advisory Commission on Disability Issues. Again, my name is Jordan Ballinger. I am a disabled advocate and a resident of the Westgate community. I have lived in Columbus for a while now and call Columbus home, and being a part of CACT has been an opportunity of a lifetime, and I've appreciated the ability to sit here today and talk about something that's really important, not only to me, but we'll also hear from our members as well. Before I get into kind of the context of why we're here today, I just want to say thank you first and foremost to Councilmember Weish for putting this on the agenda, all of his staff for their hard work and dedication to helping support CACT and getting to this place, and of course all of the members of CACT who have put in countless hours to get CACT to where we are today. This is a long overdue measure for the City of Columbus, and it provides a first step, I want to reiterate that, a first step to ensuring decisions within the city are grounded in disability inclusion. The journey to codify CACT began in these very chambers on March 28th of this year. We were hosting one of our monthly meetings, our March monthly meeting, with Councilmember Weish and Councilmember Dayakauer. However, barriers to accessing this space, this public space, this people's house, made the meeting nearly impossible and exposed issues not only with the physical space of Columbus City Hall, but also how disconnected the city was from including disability as a central voice to its decision-making processes. Issues included locked elevators, barriers to hiring ASL interpreters, utilization of inaccessible virtual platforms like WebEx. But after this meeting, an examination of Columbus and other cities took place to determine how our city compared with elevating the voices of disabled residents. Columbus was far lagging. Since that time, the City Attorney's Office, our Human Resources Department, and City Council has taken several measures to rectify mistakes and expand how the city centers the voices of disabled people. This included posting, as Director Moses mentioned, a dedicated ADA coordinator, unlocking of the elevators here in City Hall, and today, codifying CACT, or at least talking about codifying CACT. As Columbus continues to grow in population, decisions being made need to be grounded in disability inclusion. As we expand access to public transit, people with disabilities need physical access and stops to get them to their jobs and their homes. As we build new housing, consideration around the number of accessible units needs to be a priority. As we modify our parks and recreation centers, the city needs to ensure those spaces have adaptive equipment, are fully accessible, and include amenities like adult changing tables. As we host public meetings like this here in City Hall, ASL, as we have right now today, and live captioning, accessible virtual platforms, clear markers, and physical spaces for wheelchairs and other disabilities need to be made available. But we shouldn't just stop at issues that are directly related to disability. People with disabilities are homeowners, naturalists, utilize energy and resources, shop at our retail outlets, and use city services. Every aspect of city decisions, from housing to refuse, needs to be grounded in disability inclusion. The codification of CACTI is a first step to ensuring we live in a city that values the voices, choices, and participation of its disabled residents. With the new commission centering disability, the city will have a space and experts to go to when decisions are being made. CACTI will provide the opportunity for Columbus to be the most disability-inclusive city in Ohio and the country. This is a goal that we should always be working toward. As myself, a person with a disability, a sibling of a disabled brother, and the son of owners of a provider agency that serves disabled people, and of course a member of CACTI, I am incredibly thankful for Council for bringing this measure forward. And thank you for finally elevating the voices of disabled people and bringing them to this decision-making table. I look forward to working with Council as CACTI transitions into a codified commission and ensuring that decisions made in this city are grounded in disability inclusion. I'm happy to take questions.
First, thank you again for your service and obviously lifting up the voices and the concerns of our disabled residents. It is truly appreciated. Let me stop, see if my colleagues have any questions. One question, and really, as you mentioned a couple times, grounding decisions in disability inclusion. Why is that important for the city? And then how do we actually compare to other cities that are out there?
Thank you for that question, and I'll give a little bit of context. Historically, disabled people have been marginalized to the fringe, literally. They have been put into institutions, they have put into jails and prisons, and they have been kept on the corners of society until really recently, within the past, 60 to 70 years, people with disabilities were institutionalized in large, what we would call state hospitals, psychiatric institutions, etc. It has only been recently that we have, as a country, moved forward. The ADA was only just passed a few years before I was born, and Olmstead, which upheld those rights, was upheld by the Supreme Court in 1999, all of which guaranteed the right to people to live in the community. However, if we don't ground our decisions in disability inclusion, if we don't bring disabled people to the table, we are not going to build out an accessible city. We are not going to build out systems and services that work for disabled people. We're not going to be able to figure out how do we move forward as a city without including every aspect of our residents, which includes those with disabilities. How Columbus compares is, as I said, obviously we're moving forward with this codification, so I don't want to lay that to waste. But prior to this codification, several of our sister cities had things like offices on disability, commissions on disability that were historic, right? They had been there for a very long time. And they were able to really ground their decisions in disability inclusion, right? You go to several city websites, the first thing you'll see is an ADA note. You will see tabs on accessibility. This provides an opportunity for Columbus to move towards that direction, which we should. And the reason we should is because we're growing. We're becoming a very large city. We are facing new challenges we haven't faced before. We just passed an initiative that's going to expand our public transit infrastructure. We are experiencing a demand in housing. All of these things impact our disabled residents. And for us to make sure that we're effective in proposing and moving policies forward that impact all of those issues, we need to make sure we're bringing disabled people to the table to talk about those issues.
Thank you for that. And again, thank you for your advocacy. We actually had a number of speakers sign up to provide testimony on the potential legislation. And so I think the first speaker we have is Patricia Kovacs. And Patricia, my apologies if I messed up your last name, but please come on up. And she's been a member since 2013, so she's been really serving this community for quite some time.
Chair Weish and Vice Chair Mammy, thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony regarding the codification of the CACTI. My name's Patricia Kovacs. I have to go off script. I've lived in Columbus since 75, and I sometimes live in Columbus. Now I live in Gahanna, but I worked in Columbus since 81. So I've been an official member of CACT since 2013, and I've served as the secretary, vice chair, and chair. I'm retired now and volunteer with other organizations, including local, state, and national transportation organizations. Just to say, transportation is kind of my main issue with CACT. In particular, I'm a member of the National Committee on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which advises the Federal Highway Administration on traffic control devices. That committee allows me to provide input on pedestrian and disability transportation issues, and many of which I was made aware of through CACT. Also, I previously served on the Columbus Transportation and Pedestrian Commission. I became acquainted with several people who are blind through a program at Goodwill Columbus back in 1990, and we're still friends and we still do stuff together. Through them, I've learned about the barriers that affect people who are blind, particularly in the areas of transportation and computer accessibility. Helping a person who is blind through a roundabout, buying a product online with Amazon, or buying a microwave oven with ubiquitous touchscreens opens your eyes to these barriers. Thank you for bringing this important measure forward for the hearing today. Although I feel that CACT has been a beneficial organization to address disability issues in Columbus, I also believe that establishing a codified commission will help us to have a bigger impact in making Columbus more inclusive for people with disabilities in areas such as housing, employment, and access to city services. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go off script. Some of the things I wanted to tell you we worked on in the past as I've been a member is we work closely with CODA. We've written letters to the city about roundabout accessibility, worked with city staff on construction, making sure sidewalks are still accessible, issues of sidewalk cafes, and the e-scooter problem, blocking sidewalks. We did a website review in the past. We need to do another one since the website was updated. We learned about technology for wayfinding. And one thing we did was when Columbus got the Smart Columbus grant from Federal Highway, we wrote a letter in support of Columbus receiving that grant. Okay, I also want to share that I've been so appreciative of Zane Jones as our Columbus 88 coordinator. His professionalism and responsiveness to our issues are exemplary. I kind of lose my voice when I talk, sorry. Thank you for proposing this important legislation, which will help CACT to have more impact to improve the lives of Columbus residents, commuters, and visitors with disabilities. And as a former chair of CACT states, quote, nothing about us without us. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you for being here and for all your advocacy. Any questions, comments from my colleagues?
I just want to add a thank you. I remember working with Patricia back when I was chair of public service many, many years ago. So your advocacy is appreciated over the decades. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I hope we're not too much of a pain in the neck and more helpful.
I love advocates that step
you.
up and speak out for folks that they care about. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Grant Ames, Government and Community Relations Manager for Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging. Grant, thank you for what you do and for being here today.
Thank you all, Council President Hardin, members of Council, Chair Weish. I had a script. I was going to talk about how important this issue was to the community, but being in this room and having spent a lot of time here and done a lot of work here feels like a really special day. This feels like something that doesn't come around very often, and recognizing this community and them as a valuable piece of what we are as Columbus, and accepting them and not only seeing them, but being intentional about including them is just really special. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak and be part of this. I'm Grant Ames. I'm the Government and Community Relations Manager with COAAA. We provide community supports and services to older adults and people with disabilities as they navigate the process of aging and disability. That is certainly a mouthful, but I think that ultimately it turns into something that we all will experience. While some of us are born minorities and some of us will have that experience throughout our lives, aging and disability is something that can impact anyone at any time, and ultimately is something that hopefully a lot of us will age into. And so thinking about the issues that we face as a community moving forward and in our future, as been mentioned, housing, transportation, employment, all of those things, making sure that people with disabilities and older adults are at the table is certainly paramount and significant for us as an organization and for the city as we move forward. So I'll be short and sweet. Thank you all again for this important opportunity, and we are happy to express our support for this legislation and hope that it moves forward quickly.
Thank you for being here and for your advocacy as well. And then last we have Belinda Spinosi, sorry.
I would like to start off by seconding Grant. This is a very special day. This is a change in time that we are all going to remember when we brought humanity into the city of Columbus. This is a real opportunity to honor people from birth to death and all their human needs and their capabilities, and for us to help and give them the same opportunities that we give others to have a fulfilled and life and participate fully in society. I'm so proud of all of you. This is a long road, and we're on the right path now. It's because of all of you and everyone behind me. My name is Belinda Spinosi. I'm a Columbus kid, disability advocate. I have a long history with council. As a former city employee at the time, we talked about these ADA issues, so I'm familiar with how CACI has come up through the years. We have not treated it properly because we didn't have the understanding we have today about humanity. When I was a student in the 90s at Ohio State University, council supported students to make Code of Fixed Route accessible. Those leaning buses and those ramps that lean out, that's all because of you. And because I did a protest that I wouldn't let it pass without having those accessibility features of Fixed Route. And I made accessibility for the whole city. That was an important feature for the disability community because we got to see accommodations visually. And the public got to understand what accommodation meant and how that would improve the lives. That from there, you helped to move curb cuts, you made sure that elevators started being put in every building, and we had a real conversation beginning. It is necessary to go through these pains of growth that we're seeing right now, and so that we all grow and do the things that we need to do. And you stepped up, all of you behind me. This codification is important so that we can legitimately be recognized within the city of Columbus. So much of the conversations that we're having are difficulties. Our great leader explained about the elevator. The employees were just confused. Do I let this elevator, do I let these people in? Do I not? Nobody's ever taught me. Nobody educated me on what ADA is. I don't understand the new standard. And this is how we grow. This is no different than any other civil rights groups or things that we saw in 2020. We had to show up and say, this is what we need to do now. So we're doing this. So this codification is important so we legitimize this. So that we set the standards for everyone inside council, everyone inside the city of Columbus, everyone outside of this building. We ask for codification for a number of things. We want to legitimize that we are an advice membership group that is ready for you. We're going to be here for you. Our hope is to not only advise you, but to also set up appropriate training so that you also become fluid in ADA requirements, that the mayor himself becomes fluid and the administration becomes fluid. And once you are, then that models to the city of Columbus that they also, too, can be accessible. And we will build all the incentives in every department. That's what the brilliance of this codification does, is that you have individuals from each department who are going to be represented coming and sit with us so that we can work together to change the things that need to be happening inside. Those are relationships that can't happen without this codification. We also need the small amount in budget to prepare for trainings that we're going to get for you, but we also need to prepare for technology problems. We're doing WebEx today, but our members in CACTI, we have a couple who are not going to be able to participate because the problems with WebEx, and that with purchases, we're going to be able to correct those in Zoom. Currently, we get the free Zoom, and it cuts out on us after 40 minutes. We lose our membership. So we're hoping in the future we model to the city that we need to get Zoom in meetings in city council as well. These are the things that we're preparing for. Our president or chairman explained about the importance of going to the community and how we do that. We've been separated, segregated by a misunderstanding that we did not have to include all people. And with this, you're putting in law saying, yes, we will, and we won't forget you. And we're going to now, every department, every piece of legislation are going to be looked at to evaluate how humanity can be involved in the city of Columbus in everything that you do. I'm so proud of all of you, and I'm grateful for this codification and everybody who hung in with me with a very difficult conversation. I'm fighting for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
questions?
Belinda. Appreciate you being here and for your advocacy. We will never shy away from difficult conversations, so don't ever hesitate to bring your concerns to us. That's why we're here. That's why voters elected us, to have those challenging
I
conversations.
really appreciate your support. You stood up.
It is a group of us. We all do it together.
I know that. I know that, but you're the leader. Thank you.
Appreciate you all being here. Did you guys have questions, comments? Thank you, Belinda. Thank you, Director Moses and Jordan, for being here to kind of speak on this issue, and definitely looking forward to this legislation getting through council with the support of my colleagues. So, next, we will hear testimony on proposed utility rate increases, expanded eligibility for existing low-income discount programs, and the creation of a new low-income discount program. Before we start this portion of the hearing, I want to highlight that the power increase within the circulated language will be changing. After many discussions with the department, the mayor's office, and community members, we've agreed to stretch the increase out for residential customers over 5 years from the proposed 3. While this will be contingent on passage at council on Monday, we hope this compromise will alleviate some of the burden being placed on our residents by increasing the rate in a more incremental manner. We understand our community is taking on a bulk of the burden when it comes to the growth in our region. And while this growth is good for our communities, we understand a 23% increase would have been a lot to ask our division of power customers. So with that, present at the hearing today, we have Jason Coma, Chairman of the Sewer Water Advisory Board, present to read a letter of recommendations from the board. DPU Deputy Director John Lee, who will be presenting the rate increases, and Power Administrator Kristen Fenner, who is here celebrating 125 years for the Division of Power. So if we can just acknowledge that, because that's also a big deal. Just a round of applause for them and the work that they're doing. She is joined by Sewer and Drains Administrator Rob Priestess and Water Assistant Administrator Matt Steele, present to help answer any detailed questions that folks may have. But first, we'll hear from Chairman Jason Coma. Jason, thank you for being here, and appreciate you serving on the SWAP board.
Thank you, Chair Weish and Vice Chair Remy and Council President Hardin. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on behalf of the SWAP board and present to you discussion on what our board voted on in terms of rate increases and a few other important items regarding the discount program. So members of the SWAB board with representatives of the Department of Public Utilities met 4 times in 2024 to review and discuss the operations and project planning activities of the water, sewer, and stormwater enterprises. At our October 9th meeting, we reviewed proposed water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater rates and the department's low-income and senior discount program. The board approved the following rate recommendations effective January 1st, 2025. For fiscal year 2025, the board recommends an increase in sanitary sewer rates of 6%, water rates of 7%, and stormwater rates of 1%. When considered together, the bill impact on the average residential customer within the city of Columbus is 6.06%. Overall, this adds approximately $13.67 in charges to a residential customer bill each quarter, or $54.67 a year. For larger households, charges increase to $21.41 per quarter, or $85.65 per year. The board also recommends an increase to sewer extra strength charges per our rate study. The board recommends an increase of 6% to our inside and outside extra strength charges for biological oxygen demand, BOD charge, the total Keldol nitrogen, TKN charge, and the total suspended solids, TSS charge. The board recommends continuing the surcharge within the sanitary sewer rates known as the Clean River Fee. This fee supports payment of expenses related to construction projects mandated by the consent orders entered into to eliminate combined sewer and sanitary sewer overflows. This charge is based on measured impervious surface areas. The equivalent residential unit, or ERU, equals 2,000 square feet of impervious surface area, and each residential customer, both inside and outside of the city, is billed 1 ERU per month. Commercial and industrial customers are charged based on the actual measured impervious surface area. The board also recommends continuing the low-income discount for water and sanitary sewer commodity charges and increasing the discount from 20% to 25%. Additionally, the board recommends increasing the federal poverty level eligibility criteria for the low-income and senior discount from 150% to 200% of the federal poverty level. The Department of Public Utilities is continuing its outreach efforts to identify customers that have not taken advantage of this low-income and senior discount programs to work on more folks getting signed up. Finally, the board recommends changes to wastewater rates based on the department's latest rate study. In 2025, the wastewater rates for septic tank waste and sewer holding tank waste will be increased 6.8% and 4.5% respectively. Waste hauler rates for portable toilet waste and grit-laden waste will be decreased 2.1% and 3.5% respectively. Lastly, the board recommends no increase for sewer and water capacity charges for 2025. Finally, the board feels these rate adjustments are fair and equitable and necessary to provide funding to support the day-to-day operations of the department, as well as continuing the critical support of critical and sizable capital improvement program within the Department of Public Utilities. Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Well, Chair, thank you again for being here and for your service on the board. I do have a couple questions, but let me see if my colleagues have anything. First, just can you talk about the factors that are considered in making these recommendations?
Absolutely. Chair Weiss, Vice Chair Ramey, and Council President Hardin. First, it is very strange for me to be called chair ever, so I want to acknowledge that. I'm still looking around to see if someone else should answer that question, but I'll follow through. We meet several times throughout the year, generally 4 to 5 times. This last year was 4 times to discuss everything from operations of water, division of water, sewers and drains, and looking at the capital plan as well, and discuss why projects are needed and where they're located, and really, what those annual operations will support those capital improvements, as well as maintaining 24/7 operation capacity. We also look at bonds, loans, and everything else, and all of that is taken into account as to what potential rate increases might be for the ability to sustain the department and the service that it provides.
Thank you. And do you all receive testimony from residents, or do you have members kind of on the board that could specifically speak to the concerns of low-income customers or how the rates would affect their ability to pay?
So, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair Remy, and Council President Hardin, so our board is open to the public. We also have a number of board members who represent different areas. Some of those include, the commercial sector, residential customers, senior citizens, suburban customers, and low-income individuals. I've had the opportunity on a personal level to work with all of the council members present under a different hat that I wore. As a side note, I wish I wore a hat because the high camera just shows my bald spot like crazy. All the folks behind me can clearly see it. So my current role is to be the executive director of the Charitable Healthcare Network. So we are the statewide network of free clinics and charitable providers. So that means folks who have no other place to go for health care come to our clinics, many of whom are located in the city of Columbus. And as a side, we really appreciate council support for those clinics, be it Physicians Care Connection or the Breathing Association or others. And so as I walk into my role on the SWAB board and as chair, I bring that experience of what those customers that I have in my day job are facing into every single conversation about affordability and what it looks like. And I am very pleased to note that in front of you is an increase in the discount program from 20 to 25%, increasing the FPL from 150% to 200%. And I know I personally, in my time on SWAB board, have challenged the department to understand every impact that affordability will have on any rate discussion that happens. And in fairness, the department has responded in a resounding fashion of trying to get out there more to increase the number of folks signed up for the low income and senior discounts, and then increasing the levels as well. So happy to answer your question.
Thank you. I mean, it speaks to the need and shows the diversity of our SWAB board and those different constituent groups that are represented. So we appreciate your work as chair and the work of the entire board because it is a service to the community we truly need. So I appreciate you being here and providing that testimony. Now we'll hear from John Lee, Deputy Director of the Department of Public Utilities. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Council President Hardin, Chair Weich, and Vice Chair Remy, thank you for the opportunity to present the 2025 public utility rates for water, sewer, storm, and power. Also, thank you, Chair Weich, for the introduction and clarification.
Deputy Director, my apologies. Can you bring your mic a little bit closer?
Sorry about that. Is that better? Wanted to thank you, Chair Weich, for your introduction and clarification on the proposed rates for residential and the extension of those rates for residential to 5 years. Also, thank you for the introduction of my colleagues and recognition of the Division of Power's anniversary today. I don't have a script before you, but I do have a presentation I'd like to go through, if that's okay. Our proposed rates, as mentioned by Chair Coma, are 7% for water, 6% for sewer, and 1% for storm. When you look at that in total or aggregate, it's around 6%. And as mentioned, what is the bill impact? Around $13.67 quarterly or $54.67 annually. Low-income customers currently receive a 20% discount. They will receive a 25% under the proposed ordinances. You can see there how their bill is reduced compared to current residential customers. For the Division of Power, we are proposing rate increases for residential and commercial customers. based on a 5-year increase plan for residential and a 3-year increase plan for commercial. You can see there the impact on a monthly bill. That's based on an average between $5.85 to $8.90. Annually, that equates to around $70 or $106. If you are eligible for the new low-income program, you will actually see a reduction in your bill starting in 2025. The question is always, what drives our rates? Why do we need these rate increases every single year? Really, it's to cover our operations and maintenance costs. That includes supplies, materials, equipment, chemical costs for our Division of Water. Capital improvement costs. Our capital plan currently for the next 6 years proposed is $6.8 billion. Large part of that plan, as you know, is our 4th water plant and our transmission line. Also upgrades to our Southerly wastewater treatment plant. All these to expand our capacity, meet current demands, and support the growing population here in the Columbus region. For our Division of Power, some of the rate drivers why we're increasing those rates are to invest in our infrastructure for our Division of Power to the tune of $15 to $30 million during that period. We'll be able to upgrade street lights, and upgrade our circuits, improve our reliability, upgrade our substations. A couple other things that we always look at is what are our reserve levels? What do our fund balances look like? What's the health of the fund? Various financial ratios to maintain credit quality, always looking at affordability. How does our bills impact a customer's share of wallet? Our bills in relationship to rent, food, housing, we are aware of that. And we're actually undergoing an affordability analysis right now with a consultant. And finally, regulatory requirements, our consent order, we have to meet those, and then again respond to regional growth, capacity, and demand. The next slide here really just, I'm not going to get into all the details here, but really just shows a breakdown of what it looks like with our rates between an inside city customer, a low-income customer, and an outside city customer. We do provide service to suburban customers, as you know. We do charge a bit of a higher multiplier on those charges, 1.3 times for water for suburban customers and 1.5 times for county customers. Sewer's a little bit lower, about 1.1 times. So in summary on the water, sewer, and storm increases, these are across the board increases. So that 6% aggregate will be spread across all customers, residential, commercial, master metered, and multifamily. As mentioned, we do have some changes to those extra strength charges and those waste hauler rates. Capacity fees are currently under review. We have no changes in the proposed ordinances for those. Again, all of our rates are studied. The studies take a long time to conduct. They're called cost of service studies, where we really look at what is our cost of service, and then we charge to recover that cost in order to generate the revenue to recover those costs. You'll see there that the amount of revenue that we're expected to generate for 2025, about $14 million for sewer, $14 million for water, and $404,000 for stormwater. This slide shows our rate projections into the future. It also shows kind of our rate history. You can see there back when we started our consent order around 2002 and 2004, we really had a rate spike there. And back in that time, we really didn't take advantage of some of the innovative programs that we have in our partnership with the Ohio EPA. We push a lot of our programs to the Ohio EPA programs, which provide a reduced interest rate for our financing. So that's been a significant benefit and helped keep our rates low for those years, as you can see, from 2012 to around 2022. But you can see we're going up with our rate increases largely to support those increases for our capital plan, particularly in years 28, 29, when we will be servicing the debt on the water plant and the transmission line. This slide shows what the consumption levels are for a standard customer at 15 CCFs and kind of where our bill stands in relation to some of our regional utilities. You can see there here in the state of Ohio, Columbus has the lowest rate when you combine water and sewer compared to Cincinnati and Cleveland. A lot of that is attributable to The start, when we started our consent order, when we started to come in compliance, we were well ahead of some of these other regional utilities. This next slide shows where we stand from a commercial standpoint. The average consumption from a commercial customer is around 450 CCFs per quarter. Once again, you can see where Columbus regionally is below Cincinnati and Cleveland. Just a quick slide here just to show, I have a few slides to show just some of our infrastructure projects. As mentioned, you know, the rate increases really, the lion's share of that additional revenue helps to support the debt service costs that are part of our overall balance sheet. And you can see here a couple of the major projects that we have underway right now under design are our fourth water plant and transmission line. You can see the alignment there of the transmission line and kind of a layout of the future plant. Next year, additional water infrastructure. We've got elevated storage tanks. We've got our lead replacement program that is going to be about $100 million per year over 10 years. We've got our smart meter program that we're continuing to work on. Water residuals, that's what that middle slide shows, is a lagoon and what we're doing to process those water residuals. Also, our standard R&R program there with that slide on the right with that new water line installed, part of our $30 to $40 million annual water line replacement program. On the sewer side, you can see our lot tunnel there on the left, working with Granite and all the other engineers with DLZ and Black & Veatch, major tunnel projects. Also in the middle there is our compost and biosolids facility. And at the bottom middle is upgrades that we have planned for our southerly wastewater treatment plant, expansion of digesters and additional treatment trains. Up in the far right is our cogen that is turning digester gas into energy. And then finally, you're familiar with our Blueprint Columbus program. That right there is a green infrastructure installation that we are installing in neighborhoods throughout the community. Finally, a few more pictures of some of our sewer infrastructure. You can see a large trunk sewer alignment there for all the supporting the growth and development around the region, mitigating flooding. All these dollars, the rate revenue, again, contributes to those projects that mitigate flooding. We're able to install a bioenergy facility that we're currently working on that has another cogeneration and waste organics facility. And then finally, our impressive flood wall there in the bottom right to protect Franklinton. Moving on to the proposed rates for the Division of Power, you can see there we've got our residential customer classes and our commercial classes broken out. We have several rate classes just based on the differences in consumption. You can see there what our current average monthly bill is and then what the new average monthly bill will be and the actual bill impact. We have those two residential classes for KW10 and KW11. Overall, customers on a monthly basis will be seeing a rate increase between 5.85 up to 8.9 each month. So our proposed rate summary, as mentioned, our plan is a 5-year residential rate increase and a 3-year commercial rate increases. The ordinances before you only request approval for 1 year at a time. These rates are again based on current cost service analysis. We've recently done some rate modeling for the Division of Power and conducted a market rate analysis as well as a capital asset analysis. These investments will support new streetlights, a new streetlight prioritization plan so we can fine-tune where we're going to put future streetlights with these additional dollars, several circuit upgrades, and several substation upgrades. This additional revenue will bring in about $1.4 million from the residential customers and around $10.8 from commercial customers. In the ordinance, a change that we are proposing for more advocacy and review of the power rates is the addition of the Division of Power to the SWAB Board and changing the actual name of the SWAB Board to the Utility Advisory Board. Again, like the water, sewer, and storm rates, the power rates will be effective January 1, pending City Council approval. So why are the power rate increases needed? Number one, we haven't had a rate increase in many, many years, 18 years, since 2006 exactly. Capital spending has really been at historically low levels and really below industry standards. Many of our infrastructure items are reaching their useful life, and the cost just to serve and continue to provide that reliable service to our customers, the supplies and the services and equipment cost has just gone up across the board. The Division of Power is not really a generation facility, so we purchase power on the open market, and our energy costs have been increasing considerably to the tune of around 40%. So those costs, the rate increases will help mitigate some of those increased purchase power costs. Here, I'd like to show what our annual spending has been over the years versus what the recommended spending is based on our recent analysis. You can see there that over the years since 2010 all the way through 2023, we've barely made it above $5 million in annual capital spend. So with these rate increases, our annual capital spend will be able to increase to a minimum of $15 million, and we've got projects proposed up to around $30 million in the future years. This next slide, again, highlights more information on what we plan to use those dollars for. You can see there that over the years, a lot of our focus is going to be on circuit reliability improvements. We pride ourselves on our reliability at the Division of Power. We're also going to continue our smart lighting there. That's a pretty steady program that we've got there. That's the bottom blue line. We've got several substation upgrades that we're planning, voltage conversion projects, et cetera. For the Division of Power, you can see our service area here on the map there. It's really pretty much in the core of the city. Just a quick slide there just to show in recognition of our celebration of our 125th year. Division of Power has been serving the city reliably for all those years. Our street lights will continue to be upgraded, and again, updating our poles, wire, cable, and transformers with these dollars. I wanted to provide a few resources for those watching in the audience and online, just in case there are some questions about what are some resources and services we have to offer. How do you connect to City Power? That link is there. All these are available on our website on columbus.gov at the Division of Public Utilities, Department of Public Utilities. You can find a power outage in your area. You can look up how to initiate a street lighting project, and also with these rate increases, what are some conservation tips? How can you reduce your energy consumption to help lower that bill after these increases go into effect? A little bit about our bill assistance programs. I'll end with this next few slides on our assistance programs. Overall, with the proposed changes in the ordinances, we are increasing our discount program from 20 to 25%. That's been a discussion with the board and a request of the board. We are continuing our senior program for water and sewer, which is a waiver of our service fee. We also have a multi-unit discount program. Likewise, that discount's going up to 25%. We're also increasing the federal poverty eligibility for our low-income customers from 150 to 200%. A little bit about what the history of our participation has been in our low-income and senior discount program. You can see there we were a bit flat for several years, but we've really put a lot of emphasis on increasing participation. In 2024 alone, we've seen 7.1% increase, and really that's attributable to our team and our partnerships that we're continuing to form. Next is our senior program. You can see there we've been going up, went up to from 2010 to 2015, then kind of leveled off, but we've got a little bit of a spike there from 2023 to 2024. More work needs to be done there about getting more seniors signed up to our program. We're fortunate to have actually a new board member join us on the the board that's focused on senior advocacy. A couple more slides here on our assistance program. This is just a quick slide just to show for those customers that are not aware of our program, again, where you can go sign up, what it looks like, what the application looks like, what the eligibility criteria are. All of that's listed there. We also have an available application in Spanish as well. Likewise, here is our senior program. These flyers are available on our website. They are available at rec centers and government buildings throughout the city as well. Here, this is our customer payment portal. So for those that go on and pay online at our customer portal, they have the ability to go in and actually click there under general information, just go into the low income and senior discount program, and they can load all their information through the website. They can input all the eligibility criteria. They can load in their W-2 if they're using that to qualify. They can load in a copy of their driver's license so we can get them signed up very easy through this avenue as opposed to sending in paper copies of their information. Next, a little bit about that Power Bill Assistance Program, 25% discount on that energy charge. It's only available to residential customers, really mirroring what our water and sewer program is. We talked about the 200% change there, and we're also increasing that federal poverty level eligibility requirement for our senior program as well. Some other assistance that we have available for residents is we still have some ARPA dollars left, and what we're proposing is a credit. We've been offering a credit for the past few years to our customers. Like last year, we are going to give a $65 credit to those that are signed up for our low-income and senior discount program. We have a new power credit program of $50. So once you sign up for our new power income program, low-income program, you'll get a $50 credit. It just goes right into your account and impacts any kind of balance that you have. We are continuing to look towards developing a donation program. You've probably seen those out when you go shopping, add $1 here and what we would do is use those dollars to help those that need assistance. Just a quick shot here of our customer service line and our email. We get a lot of inquiries through our email, and we're responding to those every day. So I wanted to put that up there for customers that may not be aware of our telephone and email. What we're focusing on in 2025, again, is increased participation. We will be establishing and putting up our power discount program here in our application very shortly. We're going to continue to work with our multi-units, trying to get more multi-units and those members that are those residents that are in apartments signed up for our discount program, and working with affordable housing developers. We've got a great partnership with Impact Community Action. We want to establish more partnerships with community organizations. The unique thing about that partnership is that the HEAP application, if you are approved for HEAP, you're automatically eligible for our program. So really forming more of those relationships with those that already meet eligibility for one program meet ours automatically. Community engagement, we've been focused on a lot of direct calls to customers, just our customer service center on the phone, helping customers with application support and attending more events, to get out in the community, city events, community events, and provide our discount, help with sign up right there on the spot. One thing that I wanted to point out was we've been doing some research on our assistance programs here as part of our affordability analysis, and it was interesting to see that how many are actually reachable. And it was pretty astounding to me that based on the research that we could actually reach 70,000 households under our water and sewer program. And obviously there's a lot that we could be reaching more in our power service area, and we'll see how that ends up in 2025 with our efforts. But when we also saw that as we increase from 150 of the federal poverty level up to 200, we could actually capture another 35,000 households. So we're really excited about that opportunity to really see those numbers grow. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
First, thank you for walking us through that presentation. I know it's a lot. You guys do a lot behind the scenes to kind of, one, prepare these presentations, but to determine what it looks like for the future of all the divisions and the costs, the capital investments that are necessary. And a lot goes into it. So it does not go unnoticed by council. We do appreciate your time and attention to those details. I appreciate you talking about the capacity around some of our existing discount programs. Can you just speak to how else we can try to reach residents to get them to sign up? Because obviously our utilization rate is a little bit low compared to what we could do. But what changes do you guys envision going into 2025 to kind of reach more people?
I think we're going to dedicate more resources, number one, to this program and getting more folks signed up. One of the things that we're able to do through the research that we're working on is really narrowing down those folks that would be eligible by zip code. And so once we really know where they're at, where a large percentage of those that would qualify, we're going to go to those areas. We're going to work with organizations, work with churches, work with businesses, work with, whatever governmental type of facility is around where we can have our applications there. I think that's really, we're going to get a lot of wins through that process. Just trying to make things easier for customers to sign up. We're currently working with U.S. Water Alliance on an affordability task force. I'm really excited about that, just learning what others are doing. And there's a lot of things that I was not aware of that many other regional utilities are doing, and some of the research that they've done, just showing that a lot of folks, vulnerable populations don't even have a laptop computer or a desktop computer to sometimes even apply, and they actually have a mobile phone. And so what can we do mobily, perhaps through some app development and enhancements to get folks signed up quicker?
Appreciate that. Follow up?
Yeah, maybe suggestions, a question, but have you met with the Department of Neighborhoods, with the neighborhood liaisons, with our community engagement teams? These are people that are out in the community every single day and talking with all the groups that you're talking about being associated with.
Okay. Vice Chair Remy, yes, that is one avenue that we plan to pursue, and working with area commissions, and starting in first quarter, we're going to be out there looking at what we can do if we just go and present, information. It's really amazing that a lot of people don't know about it, and you would think that they do, but they don't. And so just getting out there, getting engaged in the community, and again, like you said, working with the Department of Neighborhood. So that is on our list to do as far as our communication plan.
Yeah, again, we have our own engagement team too, but, briefing those people that are actually out there doing the work is a great start. You guys presenting to the area commissions is another, is a great opportunity, but at least the people that are out there every single month at those meetings, arm them with the forms and to make sure that it's getting out there. It's just like refuse provides the opportunity if somebody's disabled to, one of our refuse drivers will go up and get the trash, bring it out to the truck, and then return the can. A lot of people don't know about that program, and it's just a great program with people in need. And so I want to make sure that we're touching all our bases, and churches attend those area commission meetings. It'll really be an opportunity to get the word out.
Thank you for that. And I'll also say council has a role to play too, right? We are a voice for our districts. We have the ability to kind of push things out in our own newsletters, speak to our own residents, and we will take that task in 2025 to continue to promote these programs that are going to provide additional resources to our residents. If there's capacity there and there are residents who are struggling, we want them signing up. One thing I will note, and I do appreciate you guys offering the assistance programs and the information in Spanish, but we got a lot of languages here in the city of Columbus. Obviously, we just recently established the Immigrant and New American Commission, they can be an added resource to you in terms of providing additional translation and outreach to their community groups as well. So just want to acknowledge that as well. Did you have any additional questions?
I do. And actually, we have a language access policy, so we need to translate in about the top 7 or 8 languages that the city we have passed, and it is policy for the city to provide those in different languages. But I wanted to talk a little bit. Could you tell us about? I just wanted to highlight for the community what those LED lights. I know. Well. We're doing smart LED lights, correct? And can you talk about what information that collects just for people to understand?
Sure. I'll do my best. I may have to defer some of my colleagues, but we have a smart street lighting plan, and part of our capital plan that, the dollars that we do have, we have been investing in a phased smart street lighting plan. So what that's doing is that's taking existing lights, which are generally high-pressure sodium lights, converting them to LED. And I also believe that we are installing like an outage monitoring system. So that is planned to continue into the future. I think there may be, several phases of 20 in total, if I believe. But part of our mission is to light those unlit areas. And so we've got a plan to get out in various community areas. Our capital plan has dollars designated for areas in the Northland area. We're going to be along Bush Boulevard, South Hamilton Road, Schrock Road, North Norton Road, Sunbury Road, and Sawmill Road. So we have also several street lighting circuits that we need to upgrade. That's really a big component of it. So you have to get the circuitry in place before we can install some of those new lights in unlit areas.
Are there ways that we could change? There's an opportunity for neighborhoods, for instance, to do decorative lighting. For you guys might have a different term for it, but certainly light through assessments, they can light the neighborhood. But the problem with it is the exorbitant amount of time it takes from the time that a petition's initiated to actually getting it done. And so, sometimes it's years. And so I wanted to see, or at least challenge the division to try to shrink that time frame down and I know there's design and there's all that kind of stuff, but I think leadership changes in neighborhoods, and some people forget that it even happened, and because of the length of time that it takes. And if we could, because we need to light every neighborhood, it's a safety issue, and those are things that we have to do, but the city can't do all of it, right? So for those that are motivated, those neighborhoods that are motivated to do their own assessments and do the decorative lighting, which, by the way, helps with property values and certainly makes neighborhoods just look incredible, but shortening that process is what I'm challenging, I guess, to work on.
Yeah, I agree, Vice Chair Remy, that the assessment process does take a long time. We're currently going through 2, as you recall, right now, and it's probably taken a good 2 years to finally get to the point where the project is complete, and those that were able to pay, those that were not, the amount of the assessment goes on property taxes. What we are doing, though, and what we've got dollars targeted for with the additional revenues that we'll get in our increased capital plan is a new streetlight prioritization plan. So with those additional dollars, we should be able to get in those areas that are unlit, and they would not have to go through the assessment process. They can still go through the assessment process if they like, if they want them right now. We can't get to every neighborhood at all that, every year, but it's going to be a phased plan. But really it's about targeting the resources to those projects. Some of these projects to do a street lighting job of over 100 lights can be close to $1 million, $750,000 to $1 million. So it takes resources to do that. And I think once we get this plan ironed out, we'll have even more that we'll be able to share with you about what it looks like in the future and which neighborhoods will be affected.
Thanks, Vice Chair. While we are on power, and I'm going to switch to water questions too, so don't. Can you just, and you highlighted this a little bit, can you just speak again to the lack, how the lack of power rate increases has impacted the division?
I would say that with the lack of power rate increases, it's really limited our ability to invest in our infrastructure. We've not been able to install the number of street lights that the community expects. We've not been able to renew the circuitry that needs renewed or upgrade those substations that are aging. So when we did our recent analysis, it was pretty eye-opening to us all about where we currently are with our capital investment and where we really need to be. And as I showed you on the graph there, the chart, we've only been spending, less than $5 million for the past many years, 10 years, and we need to be up to that minimum level of investment of around 15 to 30 each year. So the lack of the additional resources, from a fund standpoint, given rising costs for services and supplies and materials and equipment, and as I mentioned, the purchase power, as expenses rise and revenues aren't coming in, well, we know what that leads to. So we obviously want to avoid that. We want to get power on the right footing to make these investments in our community and renew these assets.
I'd like to jump in a little bit, if I could. Thank you, Chair Weish. Thank you, Vice Chair Remy. I am Christian Finner, Administrator for Power. I wanted to also reiterate that the lack of funding is detrimental to the communities that are closest to the core of our Columbus area. When you think about just the sheer way that our division grew, we started off downtown and then we branched off into the closest neighborhoods. And so those are the neighborhoods with the oldest infrastructure. And so those are the driving parks, the Franklinton, the Linden, the Near East. And those are the communities that we want to pay attention to. We don't want them to feel ignored. But if we don't have the funding, then we can't update the infrastructure that's in their area because we're always band-aiding a situation. We're always doing what we can to try to make it better for today, but we're not doing what we can to make it better for tomorrow. And so I think that it's just imperative that we know that we don't ignore these people who are in these communities and we don't let them feel like they're left out.
Thank you for that. I mean, look, as someone who's kind of worked in a semi-utility industry coming from telecom, it was important for us to constantly invest in our network. It was the only way that we could really satisfy the demands of our customers, but also expand our approach. So I truly understand the need for that investment. And, you never want to increase prices for residents, but you have to make the investments necessary. So I appreciate you all kind of walking through that. I did say I did have a water question, so I want to ask that because there is also a perception from some in the community that Columbus is footing the bill for everyone, right? We're seeing a lot of those investments that are happening outside the city of Columbus, but that's not actually true. Everyone is paying into the system for these investments, and you kind of outlined that in your presentation, but I'm hoping you can just provide just a little more insight on how those outside the city of Columbus are actually investing in our infrastructure too.
Chair White, yes, I can respond to that. Everyone is paying into the system, and our rate model is really an industry standard model. As mentioned, our suburban customers are paying 1.3 times what inside city customers are paying, and then county customers are paying 1.5 times for water. On the sewer side, it's around 1.1 times inside city customers if you're in the suburbs. It really gets down to a cost of service analysis, and we are required per the charter to ensure that we do those types of analysis. And really, those studies determine that there really is a higher cost to serve our outside city customers. A lot of that is driven by the cost of transmission of water, treatment costs, pumpage costs, storage, and we also just generally see more outside consumption. So those are really the primary reasons behind, the design of those rate multipliers and justification.
Thank you for that. Any additional questions? All right. We did have one public speaker slip for this legislation, and I'll call up Nolan Rushling, the Managing Director of Energy Policy with the Ohio Environmental Council. Nolan, thank you for being here, for your continued advocacy.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Good afternoon, Chair Weiss, Chair Remy. It's great to be here. My name is Nolan Rushling. I serve as the Managing Director of Energy Policy for the Ohio Environmental Council Action Fund. Really glad to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to give testimony on the proposed rate increases and other changes for the Department of Public Utilities. I want to note some of what's in my testimony applies to some suggested changes that may no longer be possible based on the information that you shared, Council Member, around needing to pass this Monday. But I'll just say, I think we really are encouraged to hear that the change in the timeline of the rate increase. So we just want to acknowledge that, and we'll get into that. I'll go through my testimony, but may have to ad-lib a bit with that change. We recommend some additions to the ordinance before passage, and that may necessitate a delay, may not. Maybe these changes could still be implemented, but we do support the increase in rates. And I'm speaking today as the Energy Director for the Ohio Environmental Council Action Fund, so I'm speaking largely to the Division of Power, but I think you can apply the general sentiment across the board. It's important to engage residents and carefully design metrics and reporting to ensure that our public utilities properly benefit the residents of this city. And I heard a lot of that from the previous presentations, and I'm encouraged. And I'll just say I think the OEC Action Fund would like to support those efforts. And again, we'll touch on that. First, the OEC Action Fund recognizes Columbus Department of Public Utilities and the Division of Power as crucial tools for supplying public utilities effectively, reliably, and affordably. Municipal electric utilities serve a really crucial role in our community, as I believe it's Administrator Fennerer indicated with her great remarks just a few moments ago. They're crucial.
You got to say the power, right? It's Power Administrator.
Power Administrator, yes. Thank you. I really think that hit the nail on the head, because Division of Power is not beholden, to shareholder demands or efforts to seek a profit. We understand that typically the Division of Power is competitive with AEP Ohio rates and is often more reliable by many metrics. We support a rate increase, but we do recommend, and it sounds like maybe for the future, some changes to the department's public engagement strategy. The timing of this process is the most significant point of discussion for us today. We're giving feedback on the legislation just a few days before it's going to pass, and we're talking about potential passage of a significant rate increase. Talking about significant passage of a shift in operations for the Division of Public Utilities. I do want to say, council members, I want to thank you and your office, Councilmember Weish, for giving us the opportunity today and sharing the legislation with us. We recognize, again, without a delay in passage, our feedback may not be able to be incorporated in this legislation. One example I'd like to give on community engagement for rate increases is Cleveland Public Power. They are going through a very, very similar rate increase and challenge. They haven't actually apparently raised their rates since the 1980s, but they did hold a number of public engagement meetings that include 3 city council hearings and engaged the press prior to council approval of their rate increase. Rate increases are sometimes necessary. We appreciate the need for financial stability. However, an increase in rates without the opportunity for any public input before rates are approved doesn't meet the standard of public trust the people of Columbus deserve. At the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, potential rate increases are discussed, engaged, and negotiated by consumer groups, business advocates, and environmental groups for many months, often more than a year. before approval. And while this increase we're talking about today pales in comparison to the scope and size financially of the type of rate cases our investor-owned utilities bring forward, we do want to recommend the city establish a process moving forward that allows sustained public input in rate design and a discussion of rate impacts in a time of high household costs. And I'll acknowledge we heard a little bit of that plan moving forward from the Division of Power and Public Utilities, and we appreciate that, but we do think it's important to have that conversation before rates are finalized so that feedback can be implemented. In a time when Ohioans regularly witness utility scandals and rising prices due to coal bailouts, murky rate making, and regulatory capture of state lawmakers, the Columbus Department of Public Utilities can and must be a shining example of how to properly to engage the public. And I, of course, encourage council to lead in that regard as well. My next comment is around rate design, but I'm really encouraged to hear that the rate increase has been already, sounds like, possibly spread out over 5 years rather than 3. We'd also, love to support and recommend a continued examination into the new and existing low-income discount programs to ensure there is effective eligibility and participation. Not speaking for Columbus, but generally we have seen some challenges around metering or eligibility. Already had some discussion on that today. We'd love to support that, and I think other community members would as well. And that really applies to those in low income or senior housing. I think the main way we can do that is through, really encouraged to hear the transition from the, SWAB, Sewer and Water Board, or Sewer Water Advisory Board. Thank you. We're really glad to hear the establishment of the Utility Advisory Board. I think it's an important step to increase transparency in reporting. We applaud it. But we do want to recommend some additional provisions to this ordinance that expand the reporting of the Utility Advisory Board. And I know the department does quite a lot of extensive reporting annually, but I want to stress the importance of this is that it is a body that has residents and representatives on it, and therefore can be a little more impartial and provide a different perspective to council. Specifically, in the annual report, which according to the ordinance would occur on or before the last Monday of October of each year, we suggest the board report on and council request feedback on reliability metrics for the Division of Power, reporting on effectiveness and utilization of the low-income discount program. We saw some really encouraging numbers around the addition to the 200% federal poverty line. Recommend that council and this board receive and give a report on how those numbers are going and the actual utilization of the discount program. And then reporting on community engagement efforts. I really want to stress in the rate-making process and program design process, community engagement is very, very important, not just after the fact. In conclusion, the Ohio Environmental Council Action Fund supports the Columbus Department of Public Utilities rate increases, along with increased reporting by the Utility Advisory Board and further community engagement in the rate-making process. Thank you all for your time today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, Nolan, we appreciate you being here and your continued advocacy. We hear you on the community engagement side of things. As I mentioned earlier, I think council has a role to play in terms of engaging our residents around these issues. I'm going to fall on the sword and say I'm a newbie, right? This is my first rate increase process. And I think the department has done an amazing job to try to get ahead and provide that information, but there's always ways for us to be better and to grow. And so you being here, providing that advocacy, obviously, we will talk to the department about different ways going forward, but it's always helpful, regardless of the timing of when that advocacy is given to us. Any comments, questions? Well, I appreciate you being here again, Nolan, and like I said, we look forward to working with OEC to continue to move the department forward, and always appreciate your support for the work that we're doing with the department.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would go to public comment, but I think we're good. No speakers? All right. All right. Well, once again, thank you, everyone, for being here today. We appreciate when the community takes time to come and share their thoughts. It was a journey for me, as I mentioned, 325 days in. looking forward to the final stretch of this year and look forward to more work coming out of the Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee going forward. Thank you to all of our speakers, to the department for all their work that they do throughout the entire year. It's always appreciated here on council. Good night.